Welcome to another intermediate ESL-lounge reading lesson video. Today we will be reading The Medieval Dancing Fever. Let's begin with some vocabulary. Phenomenon. A fact or event that can be observed, often one that is unusual. Epidemic. A situation where a large number of people get the same disease. Authorities. The people or organizations that have power in a society. Physician. A formal word for a medical doctor. Cure. A medicine or treatment that makes an illness go away. To collapse. To fall down suddenly because of illness or weakness. Exhaustion. The state of being extremely tired. Explanation. The reasons you give for why something happened. Bizarre. Very strange and unusual. Mass hysteria. A condition affecting a group of people with excitement, anxiety, or irrational behavior. Great! Now you know the keywords, let's read the story. History is full of strange and bizarre events, but few are as mysterious as the dancing epidemic of 1518. This strange phenomenon took place in the city of Strasbourg, which is now part of France. It all began in July of that year, when a woman known as Frau Troffea stepped into the street and began to dance. She didn't stop. She danced silently, and with great energy, and historical records say she continued for nearly a week. What started with one woman soon became a much wider problem. Within a week, more than 30 other people had joined Frau Troffea, dancing uncontrollably in the city streets. By August, the number of dancers had reportedly grown to around 400. The city authorities were extremely concerned. After consulting with local physicians, they reached a surprising conclusion. The dancing was not caused by supernatural forces, but by hot blood. End of page 1. Let's continue. The recommended cure was even more surprising. The authorities believed the victims needed to dance the fever away. To help with this cure, the city council took some extraordinary steps. They cleared a space for the dancers in the city market, built a large wooden stage, and even hired professional musicians to provide a constant beat. The authorities hoped that by encouraging non-stop dancing, the people would get tired and the epidemic would end. If they had understood the real problem, they would have acted very differently. Unfortunately, this cure had tragic consequences. The non-stop physical activity was too much for many of the dancers. With no rest and little food or water, many of them collapsed. It is reported that up to 15 people per day died from strokes, heart attacks, and complete exhaustion. End of page 2. Let's continue. Realizing their plan had failed disastrously, the authorities changed their strategy and banned most public dancing. The sick were then taken to a shrine to be prayed for. The epidemic finally ended a few weeks later, in early September. So what was the real cause of this bizarre phenomenon? Modern historians have several theories, but no one knows for sure. One explanation is that the dancers had accidentally eaten a type of poisonous fungus that grows on rye bread, which can cause muscle spasms. However, this doesn't explain why the dancing was so coordinated. A more popular theory today is that it was a case of mass hysteria, or mass psychogenic illness. The people of Strasbourg had been suffering from extreme famine and disease in the years before 1518. It's possible that this extreme psychological stress caused a kind of collective trance. End of page 3. Let's continue. The dancing may have been a desperate, subconscious reaction to the terrible conditions they were living in. Whatever the true cause, the dancing fever of 1518 remains one of history's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. Okay, time for a few questions to check your understanding. Question 1. Which statement best describes the initial development of the dancing epidemic? A. It was a large, planned event from the very beginning. B. It began with one person and expanded to hundreds over several weeks. C. The authorities were able to stop it after about 30 people joined in. D. It spread rapidly throughout the entire region within days. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is B. The text says it started with one woman and had grown to around 400 people by August. Question 2. What did the city authorities and physicians believe was the cure for the dancing? A. To arrest the dancers and put them in prison. B. To give the dancers a special type of medicine. C. To make them keep dancing until they got tired and stopped. D. To pray for them in a special shrine. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is C. The text explains the authorities believed the victims needed to dance the fever away and hoped that by encouraging non-stop dancing the people would get tired. Question 3. How did the authorities' first attempt to solve the problem affect the situation? A. It unintentionally caused the problem to become more deadly. B. It successfully tired out the dancers and ended the epidemic. C. It led to the dancers becoming angry and rioting against the authorities. D. It had no significant effect on the dancers' behavior. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is A. The text says that the authorities' cure of non-stop dancing had tragic consequences, as many people died from exhaustion. Question 4. What is the theory of mass hysteria in this context? A. The theory that the dancing was a form of religious expression. B. The belief that the dancers were possessed by supernatural forces. C. That stress made people lose control of themselves as a group. D. The explanation that it was a planned performance to get money. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is C. The text supports this by suggesting that, quote, extreme psychological stress caused a kind of collective trance. Question 5. Why is the theory of mass hysteria presented as a more convincing explanation than the poisonous fungus theory? A. Because historians have discovered written proof of mass hysteria from 1518. B. Because it explains that the dancers were suffering from a known mental illness. C. Because the poisonous fungus was not common in the region at the time. D. Because it provides a better reason for the coordinated and collective nature of the dancing. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is D. The text says that the fungus theory doesn't explain why the dancing was so coordinated, implying that the collective trance of mass hysteria is a better explanation for this. Question 6. What is the author's final message to the reader about the dancing epidemic? A. That the mass hysteria theory has now been proven to be correct. B. That such historical events are too bizarre to be studied seriously. C. That nobody really knows what happened. D. That new evidence is likely to solve the mystery very soon. Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is C. The article concludes that, whatever the true cause, the dancing fever of 1518 remains one of history's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. Let's quickly summarize the lesson. On this screen, you can review the main points of the text and the key vocabulary. Finally, here are a few discussion questions. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching this ESL Lounge video. Don't forget to subscribe for more lessons, and we'll see you in the next one.